Well, good morning. How we doing? Okay, the good morning was stronger than the good. That's okay. That's all right. We're here. Hey, my name's Josh, one of the pastors here, and excited that you are here. A couple quick things before we dive into this message. Next Sunday, I know John's already talked about it. I just want to reiterate it. Next Sunday is Easter Sunday. Who's excited about Easter Sunday? Who's already got their pastel pretty outfit picked out? Hey, okay. Guess who doesn't? This guy. We are having 3 different gatherings. Here's the reason why. John just shared it. I mean, just Easter Sunday is a Sunday where, statistics show that you have an 80% chance of someone saying yes to an invite on Easter over any other Sunday in the year. And so it's one of those, and we want to offer as much space as possible. Next week, we're going to be talking about the stone that was rolled away, and it's just going to be an incredible time. And so we're doing 3 gatherings. And so I would just tell you, and if you can help us in this, if you can come to the 8, that just helps us out a lot. And so just realistically, if you can come to the 8 and you're non-believing, your friends who don't know Jesus, come to the 8 as well. That's even a double bonus. Come find me and I'll give you like a gold star or something. I don't know, but you don't need that, but I'll give you a high five. And so, it just is. And unchurched people who don't attend church, they're probably going to feel like 9:30, 11 feels a little bit more comfortable for them. And so if you can help us and come to the 8, man, it's just it would be great. We'll have coffee. We'll keep you awake. I promise. I can't promise. I mean, I can promise. I can just walk around the room and just nudge you if you fall asleep. But it's going to be a great Sunday. And so leading up to Easter Sunday, we can go ahead and put that next slide up here. I want to encourage you, if you would, to text Easter to the number on the screen right now. Here's what it's going to do. We always just, as big moments like this in our calendar year come, so Christmas and Easter, our hope is to know Jesus better on that day than we do right now. And so the vision for us would be to know Jesus better on Easter Sunday than we do right now. One of the ways we're going to do that is we're just going to walk through a devotional together. So each day, it's through the Bible app. I'm going to host it. And so if you text this, it's not going to sign you up for the devotional. It's just going to send you that link. And then you can do whatever you want to with that link from there. But it starts tomorrow morning. It's just a simple reading. And maybe on a day there's a video as well. And then there's a kind of a message board that allows you to share, like, hey, this is how this spoke to me. This is what God's doing in my life. You don't have to message on that. You don't have to comment on that. But it gives you the opportunity just to kind of be in some community. And so for the next 7 days, we're going to move in the same direction spiritually together as a church. And so we hope and would love for you to join in on that. So again, text that number to the screen. It's going to lock you in. It's going to send you that link, and then you can do whatever you want to from that point as well. All right? You guys ready to jump in? Let's do it. Okay. So in our series, This Changes Everything. And so it's interesting when you look at the accounts of the gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all 4 men that were entrusted to tell Jesus' story. They spend anywhere from 1/3 to over 3/5 of their time talking about the last week of Jesus' life. And so over the last 4 weeks, we've just kind of slowed down and talked about some of those moments. We talked about Palm Sunday 2 Sundays ago, which if you're like, today's Palm Sunday, why didn't we talk about it then? Just go back and watch the message. But we talked about Palm Sunday 2 Sundays ago. Last week, Warren did an incredible job just recentering our hearts around communion, what that means, what Jesus did. And so this morning, we're going to be in a different moment leading up to Easter Sunday, which is where we'll be next Sunday. We hope you'll join us. Here's the whole thought behind today is a strong belief in a bad idea can lead to a painful outcome. A strong belief in a bad idea can lead to a painful outcome. Let me give you an example of this. In 1986, Cleveland decided to, if you're like, what is that? What is eating that building? That is actually 1.5 million balloons. And Cleveland decided to try to break the Guinness World Record for the amount of balloons launched into the atmosphere, which sounded great and was super creative and looked awesome for a little bit until a storm system came through and pushed all those balloons back down. In fact, it thwarted a search and rescue mission on a lake because there were balloons all in the lake. Again, a strong belief with a bad idea leads to a painful outcome. Let me show you another one. In the late 1980s, 1990s, Colgate decided to launch a beef lasagna frozen meal line. And it just confused everyone because they were like, I can eat lasagna and my breath still smell good. happening. And so it just completely bombed. Again, a strong belief in a bad idea can lead to painful outcomes. Let me tell you another one. How many of you, when your gas light, it hits E, you tell yourself, even when you hit like 0, you're like, I still got 20 more miles. I'm good to go. You believe this, right? Yeah. How many of you, this has ended badly for you sometimes? Yeah. Again, a strong belief in a bad idea can lead to painful outcomes. Another way to say this is you can be all in and still be all wrong. You can mean well and still make a mess. And nowhere is this more true than in our spiritual lives. Because the strength of our faith is not based on the passion and intensity to which we have faith in it. The strength of our faith is based on the source of our faith. Because a strong belief in a bad idea can lead to a very painful outcome. This morning, we're going to be talking about a man named Peter. And I love Peter. Peter is like a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. Not ready, aim, fire. I mean, he just kind of dives in, he just jumps in, and what Peter tries to do is he tries to fix a spiritual moment with a fleshly strength. And so we find ourselves today in the Garden of Gethsemane. Before we get there, though, let me just back us up a little bit. Jesus was at the table with his disciples, what Warren was talking about last week. He teaches communion. He leverages Passover to talk about his death and resurrection. He calls out Judas, who would betray him. We'll see him in this story in a second. And then in Luke 22:34, Jesus said this to Peter, I tell you, Peter, the rooster will not crow this day until you deny 3 times that you know me. Now, Peter is a dude that leads with his heart. He is all in. I love Peter so much. But the worst thing you can do to somebody that is all in on whatever they're all in about is to tell them you will fail. And so Peter finds himself in this moment. And so they leave from the table and then they go to the Garden of the Gethsemane, which is in Luke chapter 22, which will be the rest of the morning. You can go ahead and turn there. That's where we'll be, and that's where we pick up in this story. So Luke 22, verse 47 says this. While he was still speaking, so he brought his disciples there. He said, hey, I'm going to go off and pray, and I need you to stay awake. Guess what they did? They fell asleep. And so as he's speaking to them, there came a crowd, and the man called Judas, one of the 12, which we had just spoken about, was leading them. He drew near to Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus said to him, Judas, would you betray the Son of Man with a kiss? And when those who were around him saw what would follow the disciples, they said, Lord, shall we strike with the sword? And before Jesus can even answer them, verse 50, and one of them struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. So Peter acts. We know this is Peter. Luke's trying to be kind and keep him anonymous, but John is like, nah, we ain't doing that. I'm calling Peter out for what he did, okay? So John said this, then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servants and cut off his right ear. So get this, Judas comes, says, that's Jesus. They begin to try to seize Jesus and take him. Peter says, no, we're not doing this. Jesus, you just told me I was going to deny you. I'm going to show you how bought I am into you. I'm not going to wait for your command to draw a sword. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Draws a sword and cuts off the right ear of this soldier. It's a punishable crime, and Peter should have been executed. It's in this moment that we see this blood and chaos and this panic in the garden. In verse 51, Jesus said, no more of this. And he touched his ear and healed him. So this moment is loaded. This one scene, we see 2 very important things at once. Here's the first thing we see. We see that Peter cut off this man's right ear. And so we see the mess of a man, specifically the mess of Peter. Peter is all in with Jesus. He is fully committed. And so what he thinks he's doing in this moment is Peter thinks that he's being loyal. He thinks he's proving something. You can almost feel like what's happening inside of them. A few hours before, Jesus said, you're going to betray me. And now he gets his shot to prove his love and his loyalty. So Peter is the strong one, the one who wants everyone to know I'm with Jesus. He's my guy. I'm a ride or die with him. And so I'm going to do whatever I can to protect him. And Jesus, you just said to me that I was going to deny you, so I will show you. But so when the pressure hits, Peter sees his moment. Like, this is my moment to prove my love to Jesus. This is his chance. The problem is that Peter is not fighting from a revelation or a word from Jesus. Peter is fighting from his insecurity. Sometimes what looks like passion is really panic, and what looks like conviction is really insecurity. Sometimes what looks like spiritual strength is really an ego trying to survive. And so Peter thinks the battle is protect Jesus. But Jesus didn't need protecting. He thinks the battle is stop the arrest, but the arrest was part of the mission. And he thinks the battle is take control, but surrender was the way to victory. So Peter didn't just fight for the wrong way, he fought the wrong battle. He thought, this can't happen, I'll show Jesus. While Jesus is saying, this is what is supposed to happen, Peter. A lot of us do the same thing. What did Peter do? He picked up his sword and he swung. And many of us, we swing swords Jesus never asked us to pick up. We fight battles he never asked us to fight. So we fight to prove ourselves. We fight to look strong or to look like we're in control. We fight to earn love. We fight to manage perception. We fight to be enough. But you can be fighting hard and still be fighting the wrong battle. And so some of us are fighting to earn something Jesus already came to give us by grace. So you can be sincere and still swing at the wrong thing. So in your life, if you think about it, there's many of us in this room. You're similar to Peter. You love Jesus. You love him. And your sincerity in following him is great. The problem is you're just fighting the wrong way. Like you're fighting the battle of legalism, thinking if I look this way, if I act this way, if I read this thing, if I talk this way, if I do these things, then I'll show everyone that I'm with Jesus. And that will prove my love to him, and therefore it will be reciprocated back to me. It's kind of a contract thing. If I do this, then Jesus will love me and everybody will know that he loves me. This is what Peter is operating under. If I can go this way, then everyone will know this. See, Peter thought Jesus needed a sword, but Jesus was on his way to a cross. This is why this moment changes everything. It tells us about God's kingdom, is that it doesn't advance in the way that worldly kingdoms do, by effort and power and aggression and authority. So maybe a question we need to ask is this, is where are you fighting a battle Jesus never asked you to fight? Where in your life are you fighting a battle that he never asked you to fight? This is on me to fix this. This is on me to solve this. This is on me to fix them. This is on me to save them. And Jesus said, do you think I need your help? Peter, do you think Peter, I didn't need you. I didn't ask you to do that. I didn't need you to step in and chop off somebody's ear, Peter. I didn't need you to swing that sword. I can handle this all on my own. It begins to ask this question, where did we get to a place where we thought that Jesus needed our help? Now, let me pause. Jesus invites us in to his story. He invites us in to serve others. But we don't serve others legalistically thinking that we can fix others. We serve others so that they could find the one that can save them and rescue them. Some of us, man, you're exhausted by life. And it's not that life isn't tough. You're just fighting the wrong battles. And you stay up late at night. You can't sleep. Trying to solve something that only Jesus can. And many of us, because of that, we start fighting and swinging swords at things that Jesus was like, man, what are you doing? I know what I'm doing right now. It's okay. So another way to put this is, where are you exhausting yourself trying to prove what grace already gives? At work, in your parenting. And you know it feels good when your kids do the right thing in front of everybody. And then you feel like the worst parent in the world when your kids don't do the right thing in front of everybody. And you think, I got to fix that. I'll fix that when we get home. And discipline is necessary. But many times we think that our kids' behavior reflects on our relationship with God or theirs. Man, where are you trying to exhausting yourself, trying to prove what grace already gives? Maybe it's in your marriage. Maybe it's in your spiritual life. Some of us are so worn out because life is hard. but we're making it harder on ourselves because we're fighting battles Jesus never asked us to fight. And so in this first moment, we see the mess of a man. Cut off his right ear. Like, that's just messy all in every way. And then we see this. Jesus touched and healed him. We see the mercy of Jesus. So we see the mess of a man and the mercy of Jesus. Now, here's the thing. I've always looked at the story in one of two ways. Like, I grew up in church, right? So, I mean, there's not a flannel graph that really shows the ear like, bloop, falling off or anything. Like 4 of you know what I'm talking about, a flannel graph. If you didn't grow up in church, it was kind of cool, but we got way better technology now, so you're good. But I grew up in church, and so I remember them telling us this story. I remember the first time I ever heard this story, and I was like, this isn't supposed to be in the Bible. There's not bloody ears in the Bible. I was just like, what is happening? And then as I heard it more and more, I've always seen it in one of two lights. It's either it's a miracle or it's just magic. I'm like, this is some David Blaine stuff. It's just like, boom, there you go. 5 of you know who that is as well. All right, we're moving on. He was a magician, guys, okay? I've just always seen this way. It's a miracle Jesus did this, and I've left it at that, right? Like, it's just this, addition to the story that is something that's really cool. It's like Jesus is his signature move before he's going to go save the world. Good job. I'm just going to help this guy. He clearly is not going to be able to hear out of this ear. Let me fix this, okay? So he picks up the ear and he puts it back. So it's either a miracle or magic trick. But this is really neither. This is a message from Jesus to us. So we see the mercy of Jesus in this. What do we see? Jesus covered the mess that Peter created. He covered the mess that Peter created. So Peter cuts off the soldier's ear. Back in that time, that's a crime. And so Peter would have been tried and executed. So Peter would deserve the death sentence for what he did. Listen, so Jesus not only ends the man's pain, he removes the evidence that would be held against Peter. So Jesus didn't look at Peter and say, clean this up. Look what you did, clean this up. Jesus steps in and heals what Peter damaged. So what happens? Peter created the wound. Jesus healed it. So he removes all evidence for Peter. Peter brought chaos. Jesus brought healing. Peter made the mess. Jesus covered the evidence. Jesus, removed all evidence of Peter's wrong so that Peter could walk free out of the garden. And who's the one that walked away in shackles? Jesus. It's in this moment. It's not a miracle. It's not magic. It's the gospel message before we fully experience it. Because what Jesus does for Peter in the garden is what he does for us at the cross. Peter is impulsive. He's wrong. He's reacting in his flesh and his guilt. Sound familiar? Feel familiar? And Jesus steps in. He heals the wound, removes the evidence. This is grace. At that moment, Peter should be the one in trouble, but Jesus intervenes. And this is the story of the gospel. That you and I have sinned, we rebelled against God, and we have created a mess with our words, with our pride, with our lusts, with our anger, with our selfishness, our insecurity, and our fear. And left to ourselves, like Peter, we stand guilty. But Jesus steps in. Not to pretend that sin doesn't matter or that the wound isn't real, not to lower the standard. He steps in to do what we cannot do for ourselves. He heals, he covers, he redeems, he pays, he restores. This is why Easter and the cross matters. Ephesians 1:7 says this, in him, in Jesus, we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of our trespasses. This is Peter in the garden before Peter knew he was in the garden. According to the riches of his grace. The evidence that stood against us in the same way that stood against Peter was dealt with by Jesus. The debt we could not pay was paid for by Jesus. The record we could not erase was erased by Jesus. What does this tell us? That our hope is not in our ability to clean ourselves up. Because on our best day, we're just not that good. It's in the fact that Jesus stepped in. So maybe for you, you've been trying to manage guilt, your own guilt. You've been trying to carry your own shame. You've been trying to outwork your past mistakes. You've been trying to compensate for what you did, trying to become spiritual enough to deserve being loved by God. But grace does not come to the deserving. Grace comes to the guilty. And that's why it's grace. It's because it wasn't deserved and it isn't earned. It's unmerited favor. Grace covers what your effort can't erase. So the work you've been putting into believing, not saying that serving God is bad, but the work you've been doing in serving God, you've been doing it for the reason to try to redeem that past mistake, or trying to fix that thing that you did, or trying to heal that wound, and you just can't. That's why you're exhausted. Because you've been trying to work on something and work out something and work for something that it was never yours to earn. It's grace. This is why I love the story of Peter, because it hits so home. See, Peter is not the villain. He's sincere. He loves Jesus. He wants to do the right thing. He's just unstable. He's brave one minute, and then he's broke the next. He's loud one minute, and he's ashamed the next. He's full of confidence one moment, and then full of compromise the next. Does that sound familiar at all? That's our story. But Peter is proof that you can love Jesus and still have a lot of flesh in you. But the good news of the gospel is not that Peter stayed faithful to Jesus. The good news of the gospel is that Jesus stays faithful to us. So what do we do with this morning? I've just got 3 things, and it may be all 3 for you, or you just made to pick one. The first thing is this: put down the sword. Put down the sword. Stop fighting battles that Jesus already won for you on the cross. Stop fighting the battles that grace has already given you. Now, Paul's clear, we don't abuse grace, but many of us think that somehow we can earn grace, and like grace is just freely given. Stop trying to prove yourself to God. Stop trying to build your identity on performance, and stop trying to, like Peter, fix spiritual problems with flesh solutions. Stop trying to numb out, avoid what God wants to do in you. Next thing is this. For many of us, you need to let Jesus heal what you damaged. It's exactly what happens in the garden. Peter makes a mess. Jesus heals and restores. Let Jesus do it. Don't just admit the mess. You bring it to Jesus. Jesus is not intimidated by your brokenness or what you broke. He's not shocked by your failure. He's not standing back, arms crossed, waiting for you to figure out. What does he do? He steps in, he reaches down, he picks up what's broken, and he restores and he heals. Let Jesus heal what you broke. The third thing is this, and I love this about Peter's story: receive grace and get back up. So this isn't the only time Peter drops the ball. It's one of the goriest, but it's not the only time. You see, Jesus would be taken off and taken into captivity. Peter would follow a ways back. And then eventually someone comes to Peter and says, "Hey, weren't you with Jesus?" Now, Peter's already made a big mistake. You would think, Peter, learn. He denies. Then he denies again. And he denies Jesus again. The rooster crows. I mean, you got to think about all the guilt and shame. Jesus goes to the cross. We'll talk about that next week. Resurrects. We'll celebrate that next week. Peter, instead of going back to Jesus, Peter goes back to what he knew before Jesus. He goes back to fishing. I get choked up every time I tell the story. Peter's out fishing. Jesus, in his resurrected body, comes to the shore, makes a fire, and he's making breakfast. And Peter walks up. And Jesus doesn't bash Peter over the head. He doesn't beat him up. He doesn't say, You guys can eat. Peter, sorry. He gives him a meal, but more than that, he restores Peter. In fact, we celebrate baptism today, and the largest baptism that we've ever seen in probably human history happened from Peter's message. In that moment, Peter on the shore, Peter received grace. He didn't run. Peter received grace and he got right back up. For some of you, man, you have been sitting for so long because you've been beating yourself up. And you say this, I'll start back following Jesus. I'll start serving, whatever it is. I'll give him my life. I'll get baptized, whatever it is, when I can get this stuff right, and you're missing it. Receive the grace. Get back up. In the garden, Peter made a mess with the best intentions. And that's so much of our story. Trying hard, meaning well, acting fast, and making it worse. But thank God the story doesn't end with Peter's sword. Thank God it ends with Jesus' grace. And that changes everything.